Welcome to Study Time, a televised home learning program produced by Rwanda Basic Education Board.
Dear learners, how are you? Let me hope you are doing very well. I'm Anton, your economic teacher. Today, we are going to continue with our unit 11, and that is production. Our lesson shall proceed with lesson 7, and that's labor. We're going to look at labor as a factor of production. So this time specifically we shall look at labor as a factor of production. Then our learning objective by the end of this lesson, you should be able at least to explain labor as a factor of production. If you achieve that, then I will say that everything I've taught is okay. Right. So this is our lesson, but before I start, could you remind me what we looked at in our previous work, in our lesson 6? Anybody? Right. So we looked at capital accumulation. So who can tell us what capital accumulation is? Right. Yeah, we said that it is the process by which a country's stock of assets increase over a given period of time. That's how capital accumulates. Then we looked at some of the determinants. What determines capital accumulation? Right. We said that sometimes it's caused by the level of income of the economy. When the economy has high income, it means that it is able to invest. As it invests, we shall be able to accumulate our capital. What else? Good. We also said that where there is, in case there is security, when there is good climate, the atmosphere is good, it means that even the business will be stable. Good. Then we said that under capital accumulation, workers, if workers get income, they are able to save. If they save, then we are able to reinvest. We talked of capital outflow, inflow. In the case of capital inflow, it encourages investment, and that brings it to capital accumulation. Right. So you can see briefly some of the determinants that I gave. The level of income in an economy, political climate in the country, the size of the market, government policies on savings and investment. Right. Now look here. That was our previous work. Now let's proceed with labor as a factor of production. Get a pen and paper, then we note out something. Now, who can tell me what is labor? If we talk of labor, what is labor? Here the word labor, we have labor and laborer. But they are two different things, labor and laborer. Labor is a factor of production and labor, though they move together. Labor, good. So it is any physical or mental effort directed towards the production of goods and services. So if we talk of physical labor, Someone is pushing a wheelbarrow with cement. Somebody is getting information from the head. But all is to provide goods and services. So that is labor. What I'm doing now, I'm offering labor. But it's not physical. If I was lifting something, pushing a wheelbarrow, then you could say that it is physical. But now mine is mental. I'm using my head to provide labor. Still, under labor, we have skilled. That's skilled labor. We have semi-skilled and unskilled labor. So, get me right. We have skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled labor. Now, under skilled labor, you can tell me here what is skilled labor? Skilled labor. Good. So it's labor that is well trained. Labor that is well trained. So yeah, there is training under skilled labor. For instance, let me give example. I went to school, primary, secondary, university, and I graduated as a what? A teacher. So what I have is skilled labor. A doctor has skilled labor because he was trained. He had education. Also, lawyers. It is also under skilled labor. We have engineers, skilled labor. Somebody operating a camera, he went to school and studied, has a skill. Someone who is a veterinary officer. So all these are trained labor. Whenever you go for training, you get skills. We take you under skilled labor. Let me hope you are noting down something. This is skilled labor, where you need to get knowledge from school or from any other place that can help you to do something when you are an expert, right? Then let's look at semi-skilled. Semi-skilled labor, when he has little education, has little education or little working experience. So I may say semi. You all know if we talk of semi, like halfway, you are not fully skilled, but you are in the middle. You went to school, but you did not complete. You went in to do mechanics, but you are at a low level. So you find that this education is normally offered in vocational institutes. You get the vocational skills. You are not fully a professional. Can say that you are halfway. So these are also good in production process. Whenever they keep on working, they also acquire skills and they become trained because they keep gaining experience. Now this person works under the supervision. He is supervised by a trained person. Right, so here we have some examples like carpenters. We have those doing mechanics, the plumbers. So for them, in most cases, they get skills, but they don't study and finish to be well trained. But as they are at job, they learn more, and at the end, in the long run, they become experts. Right. Then we have another person, unskilled labor, which is in raw form. Now you can judge, you can see. Someone skilled, semi-skilled, now have labor that is in raw form, that is unskilled. For example, you may have, like, I may go and fetch water and I'm paid. So somebody fetching water, a semi-skilled person, you don't need skills to fetch water. Let's get a jerrycan, you go at the borehole, or you go at the tap, or you go where there is a well, or you go to the dam and get water. Then, weeding in a farm is also a skilled person can go. You go and remove weeds from the plantations. As you remove weeds, you don't need skills. So people who are unskilled, they can provide that labor. Then, looking after cattle. I once did that work. I was a cattle keeper, but we could leave home and go with animals for grazing. You just know that now, if I lunch during daytime, midday, I have to take them to take water. In the evening, you bring them back. So looking after animals, there, you don't need skills. Then another one, someone who collect cleaning. You wake up, you sweep the compound, and you are paid. You clean the toilets. So we normally do that work where we don't need skills. So before you proceed, let's know this. Here, skilled, that's a well-trained person. You are trained. Semi-skilled, you have little training or little education. Then unskilled, you don't go for training. That's work that you can do when you did not go even to school. Pushing a wheelbarrow, cleaning the shoe. The shoe shiners you normally see. Those who wash shoes. Those who wash clothes. They are unskilled. Then, another thing. So labor, what's the reward? What's the reward for labor? Who can tell me? The reward. Good. So labor gets wage. If you work, you get wage or salary. So you get wage or salary. You always see people after offloading a trailer, they have offloaded cement. What they do next, they demand you their pay. That is a wage. We are teaching as teachers, but at the end of the month, we also demand for salary. A doctor will demand salary. Then someone who is unskilled will demand a wage. So that is the reward. Good. Now that was an introduction on labor. Now let's look at the determinants of wages, because we said that labor is paid, the reward is wages or salaries. Now let's look at the determinants. Determinants, how they determine to give that reward. Determinants of labor. Determinants of labor. Determinants of labor. Good. So one, we have price level. Let me also, you are noting as I'm writing here, you also note in your book. So when the price for a farmer's product is high, more revenue will be realized. So as we get more revenue, if the farm gets more revenue, it means it will pay high wage. But when the prices are low and the farm gets no revenue, automatically wage will also be low. Right, next we have cost of living. Cost of living. So if I talk of this, I used to say COL. Cost of what? Of living. When the cost of living is high, automatically the wage will be high. Let's take an example. We are here in Kigali. You find there are some areas where rent is high. And transport is high. So in that area, when the cost of living is high, wage will also be high. You also demand high wage. But in areas like in the village, okay, let me say in some remote areas, you find when the cost of living is low, you can have food at home, rent is not high, you can get water from the well or from the river. You find that also labor is rewarded low. The wage is low. So this is determined by the cost of living. Right. Next, we have demand and supply. Demand and supply of labor. Demand and supply of labor. So when demand for a particular type of labor is high compared to supply, it means that wage will be high. Wage will be high. Why? Because there is demand. We are looking for a doctor to work in the hospital, but we have failed to get him. It's not easy to get a doctor, a professional doctor. What does it mean? The supply is low and we have that demand. it will mean that we have to increase the wage will be high. When there is supply for doctors, it means also the wage will be low. But if there is demand and supply is low, the wage will also be high. Good. Next, we have government legislation. Government legislation. Now here, the government normally comes in to intervene. It may set higher wages, or it may set low wages. If the country takes up to increase the wage, so the wage will also be high. When it does not come in to intervene, then you find that wage will be low. Next, employers' ability. Employers' ability to pay. Employers' ability to pay. Here, you find that some employers are paying high wage, those who have ability. But there are also situations where you find when the employer has low ability, he is not paying what is enough. He's paying little wage to labor. I think you get the point. When the labor has ability to pay high wage, also wage will increase. But if he has no ability to pay labor, wage will be low. Right. Next, profits earned by the company. Profits earned by the company. Now, when the company is earning profits, of course, it will increase labor. Labor will be high. But if we are working in losses, the company is working in losses, wage will also be low. Good. Next, trade. We have trade unions. So you all know that these trade unions help in bargaining. They look very much towards laborers' welfare, the workers. So if trade unions are active, we are able to have high wage. But in situations where trade unions are not active, we shall have low wage. Right. Next, we have education. Education and experience. Education and experience. Now, when labor or when laborers are educated and they experienced, they are paid higher wage. They are paid higher salaries. But when they are not experienced and not educated, they are paid low. That's why you find that unskilled is paid low. Then the skilled one is paid higher amount. Right? Then another thing is productivity. productivity of labor. Productivity of labor. So if I talk of productivity, I mean that some laborers, they are not productive. They are not productive. Someone is offering a service, but no results. I always give an example to teachers. We are teachers teaching, but students are failing. If they fail, it means we are not productive. Of course, our employer will pay less, but if students pass, it means we are productive, and we will pay higher salary. So, productivity of labor. Right. Now, back here, as I summarize, our objective was, by the end of the lesson, learners should be able to explain labor as a factor of production. So labor as a factor of production, we have seen what labor is. I've seen how we have seen skilled, semi-skilled, we have seen unskilled labor. Still, we are able to give the determinants of labor. Some of the determinants are here: price level, cost of living, demand and supply of labor, government legislation, employers' ability to pay, profits earned by the company, trade unions, education and experience, productivity of labor. So all this you have as determinants. You have to explain, you have to show when is labor paid high, when is it rewarded high, and when is it rewarded low. So whenever you give one side, then the point will be incomplete. You have to give one side and show that in case someone is educated and experienced, he will be paid high salary. When he is not experienced and not educated, he will be paid low. Thanks, my dear students. You can take up that assignment. Why should unskilled labor be trained? B, explain the determinants of labor. Thanks very much. I remain yours, Anton. Bye-bye.